Hey, I'm Dr. Kate Walker. Welcome to your Tuesday coaching. And if you're in the Step It Up membership, you will get this as a replay. If you're not, totally good. You're listening to me on a podcast. So welcome to you. And whether you're listening to this or you're watching this, go you, because you're doing something amazing to learn something and make your practice a better place. Now, I'm going to let in our live participants, and these are Step It Uppers who attend every Tuesday live at noon. And here we go. And just remember, if you're attending live, you don't have to have your camera on. You don't have to participate. You can just sit and listen. Totally good. But at the end, I will hit pause on the recording, and then you can ask me questions live. If you're not listening to me live, if you're listening to me on a replay, just tag me in the Facebook group, and I will answer your question there. So, systems, why do we need them? I can think of a billion reasons why you need systems, and it's not a big mystery. I mean, think about, like, we all have a house to clean or a space to clean or a room to clean, something that we have to keep shipshape. And if you don't have a system for that, then every time you look around and you're like, ooh, this place is getting kind of cluttered, and cluttered space, cluttered mind, whatever it is, it's like you're starting over from scratch. And if you have any sort of ADD, which I've got, and if I look around and I think I have to reinvent the wheel every single time for the same recurring task, I get really overwhelmed, and it messes with my mood as well. I start to feel that overwhelmed kind of turns into this, gosh, why isn't this getting any better? Why can't I do it right? Oh, look at so-and-so over there. They seem to have it all together. So there's the imposter-itis, and on and on and on. So systems aren't just a business thing. They are really a mental health thing, and they work wonderfully for tasks that repeat. So things that we have to do again and again and again. In fact, when I talk to business owners, you know, one of the things that we usually, it's a really common theme, as a matter of fact, it comes down to these things that maybe they've heard they're supposed to do, and they know they should start doing it, and they do for a little while, and then they get overwhelmed and they don't do it. For example, oh, I don't know, blogging or writing a newsletter, something like that, where this business owner has perhaps heard it was the thing to do to build business. And so they started and they did a couple, and they just got overwhelmed, and oh my goodness. And then they beat themselves up because they didn't do the thing they thought they were supposed to be doing. And then they feel like, okay, my business will never thrive because I won't do this thing. So I'm going to take you back to the basics, right? This is one of our last Step It Up meetings, Step It Up coachings. That's part of our summer boot camp. And remember, we started this boot camp, and even if you don't remember, don't worry, I'm about to tell you. We started off this boot camp with 4 KPIs, key performance indicators, because I want you to test me. Like, if you're going to go back and listen to all of these, I want you to hold me accountable. Like, I really want you to give me feedback, like, Kate, none of this stuff works, or, oh my gosh, this stuff really works. And the only way it really, or it's going to be meaningful, is if we can count it. So KPI number 1 was more phone calls. KPI number 2 was more connected phone calls, like you actually made contact with the person. KPI number 3 was made appointments, like they got on your calendar. KPI number 4 was showed up to the first session, right? So all of these things we are able to count. And I assert that if you do all the things that I'm telling you to do during this boot camp, you will see more phone calls. You will see, and when I say phone calls, I know I always have to do this. I'm going to make my quote marks, because if email is your thing or texting's your thing, this can work for that too. And let me pause just a second. If you hear a bird in the background, that's because I'm still in the woods in Michigan and it's like 70 degrees outside. So Texans, don't be jealous because it's still August, but I digress. So number one, if you don't see an increase in phone calls, then what I'm telling you isn't working. If you don't notice that you're connecting with these potential clients, then what I'm telling you isn't working. The same for booked appointments, the same for made appointments. So today I'm going to talk about systems, not just because we want those 4 numbers to go up. Of course we do. But we also want those of you out there who are distracted by birds in the background and who are looking at a beautiful forest or whatever it is you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at a sink full of dirty dishes. You don't need one more thing on your mind. This is going to help you offload these tasks so that they actually do the thing you want them to do and not just make you feel guilty because you're not able to do them. Also, if somebody hold me accountable, I will talk about other things you can do because I saw on Instagram the other day, one of my former associates, and I remember she had the toughest time blogging. So it was, type, 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 type. I'm actually, pretending to type on a keyboard here, right? And she would get writer's block and it would be frustrating. And she would put out a blog and it would be amazing, but it would be so hard for her to come up with the next one and the next one. Well, I just saw her on Instagram yesterday. Actually, I see her like every day. And she does these amazing explainer videos. And she's got such a cool way of presenting things. And I listen, she speaks in a way that I pay attention to. And so if I'm saying things like blog and I'm not making my quote marks with my fingers, go ahead and translate that to something that you love. Like if you feel more comfortable on video, then think in terms of that. If you feel more comfortable on audio, think in terms of podcasts. So just because I say blog doesn't mean you have to do that, right? I'm thinking or I'm talking in terms of just easy language for me. So let's talk about what is the purpose of a system. So number one, I want you to imagine you're going to, whatever we talk about today, you're going to offload it to somebody else, right? So a good system means you can take a vacation. You can take a day off. I had the greatest experience when I was planning my trip to Spain this past past spring. So I was really stressing out. I was getting these systems in place and I did a pretty good job. And then I figured out, oh, I can take my computer to Spain, and it was great. Like I was able to work from Spain, so I didn't really need the systems. But then when I went to Costa Rica this summer, it was like, no internet, no computer. My systems saved my bacon. I was able to do the thing in Costa Rica without internet, without my computer, because of the prep work I had done for Spain. I had gotten systems in place. So let's look at KPI. It's actually KPI number 1 and 2. And yes, I am going to talk in terms of phone calls, and there's a reason why. So if you haven't heard me say this before, you're going to hear it now. I believe clients connect with your voice. I believe that it's like your photo, when you're surfing and you're looking for the perfect website and the perfect counselor or even the perfect whatever, we connect with faces. We're human. So a fabulous photo is a first emotional connection. Well, a phone call can be the same thing. They're going to hear your voice. I'm not going to talk about the script today. You can go back and look at previous trainings. I go into super specific detail about what to say. But wanting more phone calls, wanting more connection, no phone tag, that means we have to get rid of phone tag. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about excellent scheduling software. That's your system. No mystery, no code here. I am simply talking about amazing scheduling software. You may say, but Kate, it's too expensive. I'm just a one-man show here and I don't have that many clients. I don't care. I don't care if you just have 2 clients. If you start now with fabulous scheduling software, here's what it's going to do for you. It's going to allow existing clients to take care of booking their own appointments. Great. It's going to allow you to create a product called an initial consultation and set the time. So it's not an hour-long freebie. It's a 10-minute consultation, and you can work that in to your working day. Here's the special sauce. Excellent scheduling software will give your potential client reminder emails, reminder text messages. I just saw today in one of the threads that I stalk on Facebook, somebody had said, look, I'm using this X program, I'm not going to say the name, and it didn't send out the reminder. It didn't send out, or I don't know if it did. I don't know if it sent out the text. The consultation was a no-show. I just started using this. I don't know if it's working or not. So you already know that excellent scheduling software isn't just going to say that it sends out a reminder. It's actually going to let you look and see, I see a reminder was sent out. Oh, look at that. I see that a text message was sent out. And I hope your wheels are turning so that you see that when this person actually becomes your client, and if they no-show as they are your client down the road, and they say, oh, I never got an email, and you're able to look and you go, yeah, nope, I see you got an email at 4:25 on January 15th. And right. So this is part of an excellent system. So if you're paying for something and it's not doing the job, get something that does the job. If you're trying to still scoot by on something free and you're having to come in and do the email or double check to make sure it went out or send text messages from your private or your business account, that's still what we call a touch. And we can't send you on vacation if you still need to touch and micro touch, what's the word I'm looking for? Micromanage, that's it. If you still have to micromanage your machines, you are not removing yourself, right? We call that mental load sometimes. It's when you delegate a thing, but you have to keep checking to make sure it's working. And it's actually more stressful to carry that mental load because now it's taking twice as much time. And so many times we overfunctioners will just say, you know what, it's too much trouble. I'm just going to take it back and do it myself. Don't do that. So for KPI number 1 and number 2, and look at this, we're knocking 2 KPIs off with one system, and that is excellent scheduling software. Now, the scheduling software has to be HIPAA compliant, and that means a certain level of encryption and ideally a business associate agreement. Now, the scheduling software that I use is called Full Slate. And as of this recording, they are HIPAA compliant. They will sign a business associate agreement. It's wonderful. I can do the 10-minute consultations on my time that's convenient for me. And it keeps a record of every single text message and email that goes out. So I can see the reminder emails, and I can even craft the reminder emails, and I can schedule automatically when those emails go out. So let's say I want to send a reminder email, and then after the last session, say 6 months after the last session, I want to send out an email that says, hey, how you doing? Here's some resources. Just thinking about you. I can create that and do that. So you don't have to do Full Slate, but a good scheduling system will save your bacon mentally, emotionally, and numerically, I guess, right? We're looking at KPI number 1. It will help increase your phone calls because you can schedule that 10-minute consultation. You can help people understand why you're a good fit and book that first appointment. Or if they're not a good fit, why they should become a raving fan and tell their community about you, right? So kills off KPI, not kills off. That's it's because I'm looking at the woods. I don't know. Anyway, it takes care of KPI number 1 and number 2. So we've got more phone calls, more connections because we have excellent scheduling software. So that was easy. Now let's look at the more phone calls. So there's no easy way to get around this. You're going to have to market. And even if you take insurance, you're going to have to market. Now, I just did a presentation, or I pre-recorded it actually, for the Texas Counseling Association annual conference coming up at the end of October. So excited about that. I'm going to have a booth. I'm giving presentations. Well, one of the presentations that I'm giving, they asked me to pre-record, and it's all about the ethical implementation of SEO, search engine optimization. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If you want the phone to ring, if you want to get booked for speaking gigs, if you want your community to see you as an expert, you got to put content on your website, or you have to get out in the community and speak, right? People have to have a way to interact with you, to see you, to hear your voice, even if they're reading the words and hearing your voice in their head, right? That's what a blog is. That's what website copy is. So for you to start to rank in your community, I'm talking website language here, right? You want to be higher in the Google searches. You have to have content that Google loves. And Google is fickle. It's true, right? But people are still going to search for counselor, insert specialty here, near me. And how you respond to that will determine that KPI number 1, more phone calls. So let's talk about a system for that. I want you to imagine you're a school teacher, right? If you're a school teacher and school just started and all the kids came back, and here we are, and that school teacher shows up and she gives an amazing lesson plan, and it's a great day. And she goes home that night and she's like, great day. And then she wakes up in the middle of the night. She goes, oh no, I have to wake up tomorrow and do it again. Okay, that's actually a story on myself because I used to be a school teacher. I used to be a general music teacher. So I remember when I first started teaching, like, ooh, this first week is great. And then literally waking up in cold sweats because I was like, I got to do this again tomorrow and again and again. And so after time goes by, I recognize, oh, you know what? September comes every year. You know what? October comes every year. I could look and see that my lesson plans could be recycled. I could take my plan from last year, use it again for this year. All I was doing was I was practicing my role as an entrepreneur and creating content, right? This was way before Google, way before computers, really. So I didn't know that, but that's what I do now. I have to create content. I have to create content every single week, 4 weeks in advance. And because I love traveling and I'm not always assured of my internet connection, I must be able to hand this off to someone else. So that may not be you. You may not be there. But I want to plant that seed because remember, you're awesome. You're awesome and your community needs you. They need counseling. You will grow. And so for you to stay in business, that's my mission in life. I want to keep you in business. I want your business to grow. I never want you to give up because you get overwhelmed. I want you to think now about your website copy. Think of in terms of your About Me page, your services, right? You don't need a system for that. You just create it one time and you're good to go for a while. And I want you to think about, okay, what does my community need in September? What does my community need in October? And when I say community, I want your wheels turning because not just your community, Those are the people who are going to refer friends and family to you. But your ideal client, that client who is your sweet spot, you know it's going to be a good fit for all the right reasons. And so what does that person need in September? What do they need in October, November, December? And as you go through the year, just get a piece of paper or some sticky notes and write down a theme. October's theme is this. November's theme is that. And the theme is too hard, don't worry, it's okay. Just kind of free associate. What do you think of when it comes to October? What do you think of when it comes to February? Then go back and see how that relates to your ideal client. Then think of 4 things: how to, what is, your guide to, and 3 steps. And you can create content for each one of those months based on those 4 concepts. And if you can get 1 month ahead, that's a system. Now, I don't know what you're going to do with that content. If you love getting out and speaking, I hope you're reaching out to PTOs and Kiwanis clubs and Toastmasters, and you're putting together flyers, virtual flyers, press kits with that content throughout the year so people know to hire you and you can get out there and show yourself to your community. If you're more of an introvert and you're like, no way, I'm getting out there. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to blogging. and I forgot to make the air quotes. Here we are. Blogging could mean you doing a video blog on Instagram, like my former associate. It could be you actually blogging, right? You've got your sticky notes, you've got your system, you've got your ability to look at October and say, okay, that reminds me of maybe Halloween or spooky stuff. And what's my guide to navigating conflict that might be a little scary? What are my steps to navigating conflict that my ideal client might be afraid to do? You see what I'm doing here? I'm taking my system, I create content, I'm talking about it out loud with you guys, and I'm making a recording. I could literally take this and use it for content. Hello, that's what I do. Now, I have lots of systems. I don't use sticky notes as much anymore. I use, but I do have a visual that goes on my wall. I have one of those huge year calendars that I get from Home Depot or Office Max or one of those places, Amazon actually, where I put up the calendar and I can put down my ideas for the year. Then I have a Trello board. You guys have heard me talk about Trello. If you haven't, just go to the search bar at katewalkertraining.com, podcasts, and put in Trello. And I guarantee you, I've got a podcast or a blog post about Trello. Trello is my brain. It's how I organize ahead of time. And I use Google Drive. In fact, I was doing that just before I got on with you guys. I have a folder called emails throughout the year, and everything has a theme, and it has an offer. It has some kind of a download. It has some kind of a resource. So you can imagine if that's you and you're thinking through this and you're like, okay, Kate says I got to get a system. I need more phone calls. I need more connections. I need more booked appointments. Then you have to create content that's relevant, not just relevant. It's got to be relevant to your ideal client, not just relevant to your ideal client. It has to be relevant to your ideal client and go out at a particular time of year, right? For certain situations, right? So maybe it's not even about a season. Maybe it's about something that's going on in the news or the weather or something that's impacted the community that you want to interact with, right? So I just talked about 2 systems today. I may have said I was going to talk about 3 or more. Please tag me. I want to make sure that we brainstorm systems. But remember, it starts with this idea. This is for your mental health as well as your business health. And you want to think in terms of the teeniest steps you possibly can Because if you were to hand this off to someone, you could do that and you could do it confidently without having to take back the mental load. And we want to look at these systems in terms of your KPIs, increasing calls, decreasing phone tag, booking first appointments, and then having clients actually show up to those first appointments. So, for example, I haven't talked about systems for resources, right? If you have a website and you're going to do a download for parents who are sending their adult kids to college with their 504 accommodations. But there's no 504, but there has to be one. And your student, or I'm sorry, your adult kiddo has to learn how to advocate for themselves. And you have a great guide that you want them to download. All right, let's get a system for getting that into your ideal person's hand. Because remember, even if they don't become your client, they will become your raving fan who will send people back to your website to grab all those resources. All right, I am going to hit the record button and open it up for questions if folks have them.